Just getting started on coding task 1, you're going to need to define your constants, which I'm going to call, which is the 20 days in the 6. So the 20 days you would just do something along the lines of, I don't know, num days, and let's assign that to be a constant of 20. And then the number of bus routes I'll just call num routes, and assign that 6 because there's 6 different routes. Good practice to pop a little comment in there saying what you're doing. So next up after the constants is the arrays to store the data. So you need to go data storage. And the arrays we're going to be called, this is the one for A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's the names of the bus routes. So I don't know, bus routes, the formatting of the syntax there. And you well, we have to declare the array first. So obviously, to declare an array, you have to go 1 to the size of it, and there's going to be 6 in there, but I'm not going to write 6, I'm going to write num routes. The idea being with the constants is that at a later date, you can very easily just modify these values to make it easier to play around with the program rather than writing all the 6s in and changing them later. So bus routes is going to be 1 to num routes, and then you're going to put some data into it. Bus routes is going to become, what are we going to store in there, just so we can actually work on this? We're going to store, I don't know, A, B, C, D, E, and F. So something like that, A, B, B, and so on. I'll let you figure that out. And then we need to do another array for the different days of the week. So it's days, or bus days, or whatever you like to call it. I'll call it days. Don't worry, it's days and weeks. So it's weekdays. I don't know. I'll call it days. How about that? And then again, there's going to be 20 of those as well. Apologies. Yes, there's going to be 20 of them, which is the number of days. So it's going to go 1 to 20, but you don't put 20, but num days. And then the same thing. Days becomes all the different day names, which is quite a pest to write out, to be honest. It's in terms of what we're doing, it's going to be these days here. So mun 1, chew 1, and so on. So which is mun 1, comma, chew 1, and so on and so on and so on. But I guess you could speed that up, that process, just by once you've written out the first week, you can just copy and paste. So at that point, you probably are going to start iterating to put the data in. You've got the number of days you want, you've got the number of routes you want to store, you've got the names of the routes, and you've got the days. So we want 2 for loops. And if you remember, the syntax for the for loop looks a little bit like this. For iterating variable, typically we use I, or anything you can use count. Because there's going to be 2 for loops here, there's going to be 2 count controlled loops. You can see here, these 2 are going to be count controlled loops. It's because we want to go over the day names. So over the day names is this one, num routes. So I'm just going to use let's use a variable that talks about what we're talking about, which is route name. Is it days? Sorry, apologies. Over day names. So we're going over the days first. We're doing this one first. For day, normally in Python you'd write for day in days, but we're going to write for day is arrow 1, 2, and this is the syntax for the count controlled loop. 1 to however many days data points there are going to be, which in this case is going to be num days. You can put the step variable in there. Obviously the step is going to be 1 because we're going up in ones. And then obviously I often like to finish this off next day at the bottom, because this indented here with 1 tab, this is where the code's going to go in for the day. So you're going to put all the information in there. So if I mean at the moment, if I just print day, that's not going to do anything exciting. But if I print days at position day, that's where the power starts to come in. You can actually start to do some magic there with that, but I don't want to print it. But instead of just printing out the days, for each day, we actually want to go and get the 6 bus routes. So we need to iterate using a count controlled loop, the bus routes. So I'll copy that. We need another for loop inside there that iterates the A, B, C, D, E, F, so that we can get the input for each of them. So I guess route would be a good one for that. Again, for route in, I keep doing that by mistake. For route is 1 to num routes. because numRoots is a number. 1 for root is 1 to numRoots. Again, I'll do step 1 just because it looks, I like to do it. Again, remembering popping in next root. And now root, and you've got root that goes, if I put a little comment to myself, currently day goes from 1 to 20. And let's copy that. Root goes from, not day, root goes from 1 to 6. And then you can come up with the code that goes in here. So the main part of the program, I'll just get rid of those lines, is going to go in this little section here. So main part of task 1. So what do you need to do for each of those? You've got these counters going from 1 to 20 and these counters going from 1 to 6. You've also got these arrays. We don't have any arrays for actually storing the data itself. We need to come up here and think of how we're going to do that. You need 6 of those arrays. You can come up with whatever naming you like. So you might use root A, you might use A. Again, so, and you need obviously 6 of these, D, E, and so on. This one's going to be B, C, D, E, and F. And then the same rule applies. You have to define them. So that's 1 to num days, because each of these is going to be storing. Each of these is going to be storing 20 data points inside them, or whatever's written in there. And now you need to actually start plonking stuff into them. Unlike here, where you manually plonked in the data into bus routes and days, you now want to actually use this part using some kind of, like we talked about, repeat until something, repeat what and until what. And that kind of is the end of task 1, and that prepares you for task 2, which is going to be actually to do some analysis on the data.